Welcome to Everyday English with Annie. So today we are doing a very special English learning practice edition of the Deep Dive, and we are centering it around a universally fascinating question. Can I increase my lifespan?
Right. I mean, it is the ultimate question, isn't it? Everybody wants to know the secret to living longer.
Exactly. And, usually when we talk about the human body, there's this expectation of pure mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
like we're just machines. Like a car, a part wears out, you replace it, and the mechanic just points and says, yep, there's your problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a comforting way to view health. We like to think we can just swap out the spark plugs, fill up the tank with premium fuel, and just keep driving indefinitely.
Right, but then you step into the actual science of human longevity, and
Mhm.
suddenly that whole mechanics manual is totally useless.
Oh, completely useless.
Because we're looking at a biological and psychological landscape that is deeply intertwined. The mind and the body, they don't operate in silos. They are in this constant, complex dialogue with each other.
They really are. It is the absolute definition of a holistic system. You basically cannot treat the physical vessel without also addressing the psychological driver behind the wheel.
And that is exactly our mission as we jump into the source material today. We're pulling from excerpts of the book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Frances Morales.
Such a fantastic book.
It really is. And the goal here is to uncover the actionable habits, the mindsets, and the philosophies that allow certain populations to not just live longer, but to thrive with vitality and purpose well into their hundreds.
Yeah, and to really understand what's possible, we have to look at the baseline facts first. So Japan has the highest life expectancy in the entire world.
Right.
But even within Japan, the island of Okinawa specifically is a complete statistical anomaly. They have an incredible 24.55 centenarians, and those are people over the age of 100 for every 100,000 inhabitants.
Wow. I mean, to put that in perspective for you listening, that is far beyond the global average. That is a massive number of people living past 100.
Exactly. And the goal today is to give you the exact, proven tools these centenarians use to achieve this. We're going to break down not just what they do, but the biological and psychological mechanisms of why it actually works.
And before we could even talk about the physical maintenance, the diet, the exercise, we really have to look at that psychological engine.
Right, the driver.
Because you can have a perfectly maintained vehicle, but if you don't have a destination, it just sits in the garage and rusts. There has to be a psychological driver that makes someone actually want to live past 100 in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. And the foundation of their longevity isn't, a vitamin or some secret superfood. It's this concept called Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah, it translates roughly to the happiness of always being busy, or basically your reason for being. Put simply, it is the fundamental reason you get out of bed in the morning.
I love that.
And if we break down the Japanese characters, Iki means life, and Gai means to be worthwhile. But what's really interesting is the second character can also mean armor, or to be the first to head into battle. Right, which really implies that this purpose is what gives you resilience against life's hardships.
But finding it sounds like it requires a really patient search. The sources describe it as existing at the intersection of four distinct things. It's what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Right, it's that perfect overlap in the middle.
Yeah, when those four circles overlap, you've found your Ikigai. But the sources also point out a linguistic fact that really challenges our entire framework for aging in the West.
Oh, the concept of retirement?
Yes. The Japanese language doesn't actually have a word for retire in the sense that we use it in English, like leaving the workforce for good and stopping all productive labor. You simply keep doing what you love for as long as your health allows.
Right. The Western concept of just a hard stop to your productive years simply doesn't exist there. You don't hit 65 and suddenly withdraw from society's machinery.
But wait, isn't the ultimate modern dream exactly that? I mean, so many people spend their entire lives dreaming of the day they can just do absolutely nothing on a beach somewhere. Why would we want to keep working into our 90s?
It's a fair question, but doing nothing is actually disastrous for us.
Well, if we go back to our machine metaphor, traditional retirement treats work like a grueling, exhausting road trip where the ultimate reward is finally turning the engine off.
Right.
But the Ikigai mindset treats your work, your purpose, like the engine's oil. If you drain it out and just park the car, the whole machine seizes up.
Exactly. When you drain that oil, the friction destroys the engine.
Yeah.
So if having a purpose is the oil, the obvious question becomes, well, how do you find that purpose when you feel lost?
Which happens to a lot of us.
Definitely. And to understand the mechanics of this, we can look at a Western psychological framework that actually perfectly mirrors this Eastern philosophy.
Oh, you're talking about logotherapy.
Yes, developed by the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. It was a therapeutic approach born directly from his horrific experiences surviving the Auschwitz concentration camp.
I mean, having a mission in that specific environment wasn't just some philosophical luxury. It was vital for literal survival.
Exactly. He observed that the prisoners who managed to survive were almost always the ones who had something they desperately wanted to accomplish outside the camp.
Like what?
Well, it could be a loved one to reunite with, or a book they had left unwritten, or even a piece of research they needed to finish.
So something pulling them forward.
Exactly. Unlike traditional psychoanalysis, which, generally looks backward into your past and analyzes your instincts and neuroses while you lie on a couch.
Right, the whole Freud approach.
Yeah. Logotherapy looks forward. The patient sits up, and the therapist helps them consciously discover their life's purpose so they can overcome whatever obstacles they're facing right now.
It's basically about finding a why, based on the idea that having a why helps you survive anyhow.
Perfectly said.
But most of us aren't facing those extreme life-or-death survival situations. For you and me, for the listener, the sources mention this concept of Sunday neurosis.
Oh, Sunday neurosis is so common. It's that creeping existential dread people feel on weekends when the distraction of the work week abruptly stops.
Yes, that Sunday afternoon slump.
Right, because during the week, you have a boss or a tight schedule dictating your actions. But on Sunday afternoon, when you are left entirely to your own devices, you suddenly realize you lack a core purpose. There's a void. And that void causes profound anxiety.
Which makes me wonder, does our modern obsession with comfort and creating a completely stress-free life actually cause these existential crises? We'd spend so much energy trying to eliminate all friction from our lives, but maybe we need that friction.
Frankl definitely believes so. He believed that mental health actually depends on tension. Specifically, the tension between what we've accomplished so far and what we still want to achieve.
So we need a challenge.
Yes, we require a challenge. A stress-free life is a stagnant life. There's actually a really powerful case study from Frankl's practice detailed in the sources.
Oh, the elderly doctor.
Yes. This elderly doctor came to him deeply depressed because his wife had died 2 years earlier. He couldn't get over the grief. It was just completely paralyzing him.
And instead of just giving him coping mechanisms to, numb the pain, Frankl asked him a question that completely recontextualized the suffering.
He did. He asked the doctor, what would have happened if you had died first and your wife had survived you?
Wow.
And the doctor was horrified at the thought. He said it would have been terrible for her, that she would have suffered tremendously. And Frankl simply replied, you see, doctor, you have spared her all that suffering, but the price you have to pay is to survive and mourn her.
I mean, just by pointing out that his survival spared his wife from the pain of mourning him, Frankl shifted the doctor's perspective entirely.
Complete shift.
His suffering suddenly had a mechanism of meaning. His pain became a sacrifice for the person he loved. His life had a purpose again, and that purpose was to bear the grief so she didn't have to.
And that realization didn't erase the grief, obviously, but it gave the grief utility. It transformed the tension of his loss into something highly productive.
So building on this idea that tension and challenge are actually necessary for us, we really have to look closely at stress. Because everything we hear in modern health discussions labels stress as the silent killer. So how does stress actually affect the biological aging process?
Well, we have to clearly distinguish between the types of stress because the biological mechanisms are very different.
Okay, how so?
Sustained, severe stress, the kind where you constantly feel under threat, like chronic financial panic or a really toxic work environment, that is indeed a longevity killer.
Right.
It pumps constant elevated doses of cortisol and adrenaline into your body. Over time, this chronic inflammation physically weakens cellular structures called telomeres.
And those are like the little plastic tips at the end of your shoelaces, right? They keep your DNA strands from fraying.
That's exactly what they are. Every time your cells divide, the telomeres get slightly shorter. But chronic stress accelerates this shortening process rapidly.
Which is bad.
Very bad. Because when the telomeres get too short, the cell can no longer divide. It becomes senescent, which is basically a zombie cell that just secretes inflammatory chemicals. That is the literal biological mechanism of premature aging.
Wow. But there's a flip side to stress, isn't there? because a 20-year study by Dr. Howard S. Friedman proved that a specific type of stress is actually highly beneficial.
Yes, Friedman's research was fascinating. It showed that people who faced challenges, who put their heart and soul into their work to succeed and engaged with demanding tasks, they actually lived longer than those who chose entirely relaxed early retirement lifestyles.
That is so counterintuitive.
It is, but low levels of productive stress act like a workout for your resilience.
And this productive stress leads to a state called flow.
Yes, flow state.
This is when you are completely immersed in a task. You forget about time, you forget about your past and future anxieties, and your ego just completely dissolves. You become part of the activity.
Exactly.
In Japan, they have takumis, who are these master artisans, like someone who spends 50 years perfecting the crafting of a specific type of wooden comb.
Right.
And they also have otakus, who are deeply passionate fans of anime and manga. But what unites them is that they all regularly tap into this flow state. They practice gamburu, which means persevering and staying firm by doing one's best.
But here's the catch. Getting into that flow state is incredibly difficult if you are paralyzed by anxiety.
Oh, for sure.
If your mind is racing with intrusive thoughts, you can't immerse yourself in a task. And this is where the sources introduce a Japanese psychological approach called Morita therapy.
Developed by Shomo Morita, right?
Yes.
A psychotherapist and Zen Buddhist.
Yes. Now, in Western therapy, the instinct is often to analyze, control, or somehow modify our thoughts to change how we feel. But Morita therapy teaches the exact opposite.
Really?
You accept your emotions without trying to control them at all. You just let them be, and you focus entirely on your actions.
The text uses this great analogy of a donkey tied to a post. The more the donkey struggles and pulls against the rope to escape, the more tangled and trapped it gets.
Which is exactly what happens with anxiety.
Right, obsessing over your anxiety just creates more anxiety about your anxiety. I think this hit home for you listening right now. It's kind of like getting a pop-up ad on your computer screen.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Western therapy sometimes tells us to dig into the code and figure out why the ad appeared, or try to aggressively click it away. Morita therapy just says, acknowledge the ad is there, don't click it, and just keep typing your document.
And if you just keep typing, eventually that pop-up disappears into the background.
Yeah.
Your attention basically starves it of power.
That is so true.
The feelings pass on their own because emotions are inherently temporary. So by focusing on your actions, on doing your Ikigai, the anxiety just loses its grip on you.
Okay, so we have the mind properly fueled with purpose, and we know how to navigate stress to find flow. But you can't have a healthy mind in a crumbling physical vessel.
Absolutely not.
So how do we maintain our bodies to keep up with, well, as the text calls it, the rabbit of time?
Yeah, futurists like Ray Kurzweil talk about a concept called aging's escape velocity.
Okay, explain that one.
Imagine a rabbit walking into the future, holding a sign with your expiration date. Every year you live, you get one step closer to the rabbit.
Makes sense.
But if technology, medicine, and our own holistic health practices advance fast enough, we might eventually add more than 1 year of life expectancy for every single year we live.
So the rabbit would be moving forward faster than we were walking toward it.
Exactly. We would mathematically never catch it.
Which brings us back to Ogimi, the village of longevity in Okinawa. How are they outrunning the rabbit on a practical daily basis?
Well, it starts with their diet. The foundation's concept called Hara Hachibu, which is an 80% rule.
An 80% rule for eating.
Yes. Before or after eating, they repeat this phrase, which reminds them to stop eating when they are 80% full. As a result, Okinawans consume an average of 1,800 to 1,900 calories a day.
Compared to the U.S., where the average is, what, 2,200 to 3,300 calories?
Right. It's a huge difference.
But I have to push back here. How does anyone actually know when their stomach is at exactly 80% capacity? I mean, there's no physical gauge to look at.
There is no objective measure, no, but it's really about understanding the biological delay in our digestion.
Okay.
It takes your stomach about 20 minutes to send the hormonal signals to your brain that it is actually full. If you eat until you feel 100% full in the moment, 20 minutes later, you are going to feel uncomfortably stuffed.
We've all been there.
Right. And the biological mechanism behind why this matters is cellular oxidation. Digesting food is one of the most energy-intensive processes the human body undertakes.
So it wears us out.
Exactly. When your body processes excess calories, it generates free radicals. Those are unstable molecules that damage surrounding cells. By stopping before you feel completely full, you avoid wearing down your body with long, exhausting digestive processes. You basically minimize that internal wear and tear.
Okay, so it's about intercepting the habit. Like when you're eating and you think, I could have one more slice of pie, I definitely have room.
Yes.
That exact thought is your cue to drop the fork. That thought is the 80% mark.
That's a great way to look at it.
And it's not just the volume of food, but the immense variety. They eat the rainbow. Studies show they eat 206 different foods on a regular basis, averaging about 18 different foods a day.
Which is incredible diversity.
Right. The diet is heavily focused on grains like rice, huge varieties of vegetables, sweet potatoes, tofu, and this local citrus fruit called shikawasa.
Oh, shikawasa is incredibly important
Why is that?
because it is packed with flavonoids, specifically nobiletin, which is a really powerful antioxidant. It helps neutralize those free radicals we just talked about. Their diet essentially provides the exact micronutrients needed to repair cellular damage on a daily basis.
But diet is only half of the physical equation. What about movement? Because centenarians aren't exactly doing high-intensity interval training or lifting heavy weights into their 90s.
No, they definitely don't do intense, strenuous gym workouts. Their secret is continuous, gentle movement throughout the entire day.
So what does that look like?
They walk, they garden, they do tai chi, or they participate in radio taiso.
Radio Taiso is literally radio exercises, right?
Yes, it's a broadcast that plays every morning in Japan. People gather in parks or even in their offices to do these gentle, synchronized movements.
So it's not about sweating.
No, it isn't about sweating or breaking muscle down to build it up. It is all about joint mobility, stretching, and continuous circulation.
And the science backing up why this gentle movement is so crucial is just staggering.
It really is.
When you sit down, within just 30 minutes, your metabolism slows down by 90%. An enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which captures fat in your bloodstream to be burned as fuel, just essentially turns off. Good cholesterol drops 20% after 2 hours of sitting.
And sitting too long literally alters those telomeres we mentioned earlier. Sedentary tissue creates inflammatory markers that accelerate the fraying of your DNA.
Wow. But just getting up for 5 minutes every half hour gets those enzymes active again and clears out the inflammation.
It makes a massive difference, but physical maintenance also requires dedicated downtime, specifically sleep.
Right.
The text refers to it as the secret of models, noting that many fashion models prioritize getting 9 to 10 hours of sleep before a shoot-for-taut, glowing skin. And the biological mechanism here is melatonin.
Now, melatonin is a hormone we naturally produce when it gets dark to help us sleep, but it does so much more than just make us drowsy, doesn't it?
It is a ridiculously powerful anti-aging antioxidant. Yes. While you are sleeping, melatonin goes to work repairing the cellular damage from the day. It strengthens the immune system, promotes natural insulin production, and helps prevent diseases like osteoporosis and Alzheimer's.
But there is a catch.
Always. The catch is that the pineal gland only produces it effectively if you get enough sleep, avoid chronic stress, and limit disruptions like late-night screen time, caffeine, or alcohol.
So you have your purpose, your body is fueled with a varied diet that stops at 80%, you're moving gently, and you're sleeping well to repair your cells. But humans are fundamentally pack animals.
We need each other.
Right, so the final piece of the longevity puzzle is the social fabric. It's how we interact with our environment and our community. In Okinawa, this social fabric is formalized into something called a moai.
Yes, a moai is an informal group of people with common interests who look out for one another. But it isn't just a casual friend group, it actually has deep historical roots in agriculture. It originated back when farmers had to pool their resources and labor to help each other survive bad harvests. Today, it functions more as an emotional and financial safety net.
So how does it work today?
Well, members make a set monthly financial contribution to the group. They use the funds for social activities, dinners, or games of Japanese chess. But the crucial mechanism is that if someone in the group falls on hard times, like a medical emergency or a job loss, they can get a financial advance from the group's shared savings.
It's essentially a hybrid between a modern group chat, a savings account, and a therapy circle.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
This demonstrates that true security doesn't just come from money in a personal bank account. For you, the listener, real security comes from knowing you have a dedicated safety net of human beings around you who have a tangible shared stake in your well-being.
Absolutely. And this sense of community extends way beyond just their close-knit moai. They actually live by a local expression, ichiriba chode.
What does that mean?
It translates to treat everyone like a brother, even if you've never met them before.
That is beautiful.
It really reflects a deep spiritual interconnectedness in their culture. Their animist religion believes everyone and everything possesses a mabui, which is an immortal spirit or life force.
Which means your interactions carry real weight.
Exactly.
A grandmother can transfer part of her mabui to her granddaughter simply by passing down a piece of jewelry. Even photographs or shared experiences can share this spiritual essence.
That's true.
It completely shifts your worldview when you view your interactions and your environment as deeply connected and sacred rather than, disposable.
And this interconnectedness ties perfectly into their broader philosophical concepts of wabi-sabi and ichigo-ichi.
Okay, let's break those down.
So wabi-sabi is the practice of finding beauty in things that are imperfect and ephemeral. Instead of demanding a pristine, perfect life, you find value in a cracked teacup or even in the natural aging process of your own body.
Which psychologically acts as a massive buffer against the intense stress of modern perfectionism. It just removes the chronic cortisol spike of feeling like you aren't good enough.
Exactly. You accept that the world is naturally imperfect and constantly decaying, which just takes the pressure off.
And what about Ichigo Ichi?
That translates to this moment exists only now and won't come again.
Wow.
It's a grounding mechanism. It is a constant reminder to be wholly present, ensuring you don't lose the current moment by agonizing over the past or projecting anxiety into the future.
Because if you are present, you are not stressed. You are simply existing in the flow of the current moment.
Precisely.
Pulling all of these threads together, we set out on a mission today to answer, can I increase my lifespan? And the clear takeaway from the source material is that longevity is not achieved by a single magic pill or some biohacking shortcut.
Not at all.
It requires a beautifully balanced ecosystem. You need the holistic combination of an active mind driven by your Ikigai. You need a routine that incorporates just enough productive tension to keep you engaged in a state of flow, avoiding the void of Sunday neurosis.
Right.
You need a highly varied, antioxidant-rich diet where you respect your cellular machinery by stopping at 80% capacity. You require constant, gentle movement to keep your metabolism active, deep sleep to let melatonin repair your cells, and a tight-knit community that provides both emotional warmth and tangible security.
All of these elements work in concert. If you remove the purpose, the diet doesn't really matter. If you remove the community, the stress overwhelms the purpose. Everything is connected.
So as you navigate your own path, whether you are just practicing your English today or genuinely trying to figure out your life's direction, remember that your life is not a cold mechanical equation to be solved. Follow your curiosity. Embrace the productive challenges that come your way. Don't demand perfection from yourself or the world, and heavily invest in the imperfect people around you.
And, we spent a lot of time today analyzing how to preserve your individual life, your diet, your mindset, your stress levels. But given how deeply the centenarians of Okinawa rely on their moai, their daily volunteer work, and their belief in shared life force, I really want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own.
Okay, what is it?
What if the ultimate, scientifically proven tool for extending your own lifespan is actually dedicating your life to taking care of someone else's?
Just like the grieving doctor who found his profound reason for living by bearing the pain so his wife wouldn't have to. When we connect to a purpose outside ourselves, we aren't just isolated machines breaking down over time. We become part of something enduring. Thank you for taking this deep dive into the source material with us.